everyone, welcome to Wendy's Art. This piece today is called Tropical Breeze and it's an oil and cold wax painting, abstract painting that I did. It begins with some progress photos and then later on I decided to do some video of some of the different stages. So I'll walk you through the first photos and then we'll get on to some video. Here you can see some leftover oil paint that I had from another painting, and instead of throwing it out I decided to add it to this 30 by 30 centimetre canvas panel instead. That way I have no wasted paint and I have a ready-made background set up to do another limited palette practice using the same colours that I used on the previous set of paintings that I absolutely love. So it was a real win-win situation. I'm used to working with acrylics and you can't do that, so working with the oils is having a lot of advantages for me. So I started with the leftover paint from yesterday's paintings to achieve the first layer, and then I used a satay stick just to scratch into that and make some marks. Here you can see that I have applied some Sennelier oil stick colours and again making some marks with that. This is after adding some Gamsol just with a fine liner, waiting 20 seconds, then running a palette knife over to remove some of the paint, leaving some texture marks. I will then leave this to dry overnight and do another layer with oil, cold wax and palette knife and scraper. I'm officially addicted to mark making. I was waiting for yesterday's layers to dry and it was still a little bit wet, so I thought I'd use some Stabilo woody pencils to make some organic lines. I just twirled the pencils and let them take me wherever they wanted to go. It was a lot of fun. Today I added 2 pieces of white textured tissue paper, very fine and textural. To adhere that to the surface, I just used the cold wax medium and a palette knife. Just going very carefully, but the cold wax medium got it down pretty well. I'll just use the palette knife to get out any air bubbles. And the tissue paper literally melts into the background. These are just some close-ups of the texture. As I said, you can barely see it. It's just hidden there in the background nicely, so ready to move on now. Here I'm mixing up some new colours to put onto this canvas. I've used titanium white, Payne's grey, Naples yellow and cobalt turquoise. What I'm doing is mixing 50-50 oil paint to cold wax medium, and what I then do is add white to each of the colours, I add yellow, the Naples yellow to each of the colours, the turquoise blue to each of the colours and the Payne's grey to each of the colours. So you end up with a really beautiful palette of colours that harmonise and go together well and make a really interesting and pleasing to the eye composition. So now I'm starting to apply the paints to the canvas panel. I'm trying out a new roller, but it doesn't seem to roll very well. It gets stuck, so I gave up on that pretty quickly. Then I'm trying a new scraper that I bought. Again, I wasn't overly happy with it. I persisted a little bit longer with that, but then I go back to, I think, a palette knife. The scraper was okay, but it just didn't feel right. So I've gone back to try this white scraper. It was very big for this size panel. And again, I wasn't overly, so I'm running through a number of different scrapers and things, and yeah, the palette knife I think I found I was much happier with, so I settled on that one. It seemed to move the paint around really nicely. So you can see I'm just adding various shades of these colour mixes, and because they all come from the same 4 initial colours, they sit together really beautifully. It's probably the first time I've done that and mixed that sort of colour palette, but it really, really does look good. So at this stage I'm just adding another layer of oil and cold wax medium. Just trying to get a composition and mixture of colours that I'm happy with. loving that cobalt turquoise, it's really lovely. Just using that palette knife to get the colour on and move it round and give a bit of texture and interest. Now I'm using a fork, little plastic fork, to make a few marks. Some lids, a skewer, doing some mark making, some arsenic writing. Now I'm pushing some texture plates into the oil. Gives a really nice effect. I'm going to have fun trying to clean them, I think, but really enjoyed that bit of texture. And I've decided after doing that I really love the way it's looking, so I didn't end up adding any more layers that I was planning to. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. This is the finished painting, and I'm really loving the way it looks. These are some close-ups of some of the texture. The texture plates really added a lovely finish to it, and you can see some of the marks from some of the layers underneath. Yeah, really happy with that, and because I love the texture and the mark making, this was an ideal medium to use. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and please subscribe and click like, and see you again next time. Thanks for watching.